Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just wanted to, in regards to resident input, I just want to let parents know that the transportation letters were sent out, so you should be getting them. And if there's any issues, you just need to contact Rich Mary, how do you say this again? Mariani. It's 631-7431, so.
37.
You got one. Sorry. 7437. To start up, we're going to start with our student liaison interviews. And I believe first we have Garrett Flick. Oh, I got to put a chair for you.
Yeah, you were just in a production over the summer, right? Lancaster?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw
we
that.
just finished last week.
Yeah, really good.
Thank you.
My sister went, she loved it. So. Okay, so we're just going to ask you 4 questions, really easy. So it's we appreciate the updates on upcoming events and the happenings within the high school. However, we are more interested in hearing about what is really going on with the students themselves. What types of questions will you ask your fellow classmates to be able to give us details about their thoughts of what's going on in the school?
So I have 3 things in mind. I would love to ask the incoming freshman class what their opinions are about making the transition from middle school to high school. And my cousin is going into that class, so I'd love to talk with him and talk with the rest of that class and just see how they're doing, how their transition can be improved for next year's freshman class. And for, let's say, extracurricular activities, I'd love to know how students feel about their involvement in activities and how the school treats their activities. So I'm in the school musicals, and I'd love to know about, for my cast, how much they feel they contribute and how much the school advertises and sees the work that they do. And then finally, for the general school, I'd love to know how our school feels about going from last year with some COVID restrictions and then easing up on them into this year, which I don't know how that is going so far, but I'd love to know going into this year how everyone feels about distancing, masks, anything.
Thank you. Hang on a second, because I know we changed the order, how we did this. Hang on a second.
Number 3.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, how do you plan on getting information from the other 3 buildings?
So the middle school should be fairly easy because in the cross-country team there's a few middle schoolers that I know, and also with the school musicals. There's middle schoolers in the cast, and our director is one of the middle school teachers. And for the intermediate and primary schools, they'd probably be harder because the students usually don't have phones or social media. But I could always go to those schools' events or reach out to any old teachers I had and get their ideas for how their years are going. And I also do have a stepbrother going into first grade, I believe, so I can use him as sort of an in with the primary school.
And what are your thoughts on the subject of race and ethnic inclusion and exclusion at Maryvale?
So that, I haven't seen anything from my perspective because there isn't really any racism towards people like me in Maryvale. But I know from friends of mine who are in other schools that Maryvale has it really good in terms of diversity. And that gives us the unique opportunity to have like our culture day that we had this year. where, as in those schools, they could really just have like European-centric culture. So I think that our school has a lot of progress to do in terms of student relations. I know there's a lot of, well, not to say a lot, but there is some racism between students that I see. But from what I know from my friends who are racial and ethnic minorities, that they all are great with teachers, that the teachers have everything on board for that, but I think students are where the attention needs to be.
Okay. And why do you think you would be a good fit on the board, and how will you bring information to us?
I think I'd be a good fit on the board because I've held more leadership positions in school so far. I've been on student council since 8th grade up to last year, and I'm going to this year as the National Honor Society Secretary. So I think that those leadership positions give me a different kind of perspective that I can bring to the table here.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Helen.
Thank you.
You're very well spoken.
Thank you.
Well, you're an actor. Not that you're acting. I just meant that you're well spoken.
Yeah.
Not intimidating.
You answered them very well. Thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, great job.
Am I all set to leave, or should I stay for the rest of the meeting?
You're all set, honey, because I know your mom messaged me.
Great job. Great job.
Thank you.
The other student isn't here, correct? Okay.
I would recommend that the board approve the financial and non-personnel consent agenda items 1 through 4 as submitted.
Can I have a motion?
A motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
The next portion of the consent agenda items for personnel, there are now 18 items. We took away 14 as the person took a job somewhere else and elected not to accept our position. But we did have 5 positions finalized at the end of last week, late Thursday, Friday. We've added them, so you should have them all here. That said, I would recommend the board approve the personnel consent agenda items now 1 through 18 as submitted tonight.
Can I have a motion?
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now, I was out of the district at the end of last week, so I missed somebody, let me know, but I believe Mrs. Kowski is here.
Congratulations, man.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Melissa Perez. Yep, we haven't met, but welcome to Maryvale.
Thank you.
Jennifer Hannon.
Yeah.
Great, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else that we've appointed tonight? Okay.
I'd just like to say that what we're getting, Ms. Hannon will be in our library as a literacy specialist at the primary school. And it's a different model than we've had in the past. We've had a certified school library media specialist at the primary level. And we're shifting to this model. We think that having a literacy specialist in the primary library will help all the kids in the building, because they all go to the library every week, once a week for their special. And the literacy specialist there will help the reading instruction, will help, connect with our core content areas, connect with our service providers, and just provide research-based reading instruction, an additional 55 minutes a week to all of our kids. So it's a different shift, but it's a shift we think is going to really help our kids.
Very excited about it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations to all of them. First item under new business, as the COVID restrictions wane, we're starting to open up our facilities for rental again. And this first one is for Swimkins, and they were really a large user of our swimming pool, generates a revenue for the district and provides that organization a place to hold their activities. So I'd like to recommend the board approve the application for school facilities as presented.
Can I have a motion?
I'll motion. I'll second.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Well, this next item is the School Resource Officer Pilot Program, and Maryvale has employed a police liaison officer from the town of Cheektowaga for at least 15 years that I've been in the district. And a police liaison officer is a part-time officer that we have in our buildings. Part-time in the sense that they're also assigned duties on the road. So they could be here in the building and then get a call and they have to leave the district and, you know, go to the call. It's worked out, but a school resource officer is kind of a step up from where we've been in the past. Chief Gould reached out to the superintendents early July, and started discussions with all of us about the implementation of the school resource officer program for the school districts within the town of Cheektowaga. So an SRO is just a police officer whose sole responsibility is to each of the schools within the district. So no more road duty with an SRO. The SRO would be visible at district events, at board meetings. We would have that person work 6:30 to 4 p.m. so that that person covers all student arrivals and all student dismissals. And then, you know, be throughout the district throughout the whole day. We would have liked two, one at the primary campus, one at the main campus, but the town is concerned about their staffing levels for their police department with just, you know, 4 officers, 1 per district. They had 8 retirements. They have 8 in the academy, but then they've since had more retirements, and it takes longer to you know, transition a new officer through the academy. So he thinks, the chief thinks that he can fund and find the personnel, I should say, find the personnel to implement the SRO program. And should the board choose to move forward with the SRO program tonight, the town board would take it up, and the earliest an SRO program to start in Maryvale will be October 1st. If that is the case, we would maintain our school liaison officer program until that date, or until an officer is able to join us. There's current research out there that shows that for every dollar that is invested in an SRO program, there's a minimum of $11.13 of social and economic value. They do things like, you know, preventing or minimizing property damage in the school and the surrounding areas. They help prevent student injuries and even death due to, you know, violence or drug situations, which thank goodness we don't have, you know. But they reduce the need for schools to call 911. They reduce the likelihood that a student will get a criminal record, which is really important because there's a lot of intervention done. The SRO is here to build relationships with students and staff in the entire community, and a lot of times those relationships go a long way for students, and like I say, reduce the likelihood that they'll get a criminal record. They increase the likelihood, the SROs increase the likelihood that students, particularly those with mental health issues, will get the help they need from the social service and healthcare systems. They integrate really well with our existing student support staff, our counselors, our social workers. And in general, there's just an increase in feelings of safety amongst students and staff. This is the current research I'm talking about. My experience with the school liaison officers showed just that. Officer Scapalato is fantastic at diffusing situations around here, building relationships with students, and you know, students have really become comfortable with him to the point where they can go to him and kind of tell him, look, this is going on, and he can help intervene. So the issue that the board has to consider is that, as I said, Chief Gould initiated this discussion with the districts after our budget was set. So we had approximately $30,000 in our budget for the school liaison officer. In SRO, if it's done with fidelity, and by fidelity I mean that the SRO covers all student arrivals and dismissals in district and school events. You do that with fidelity, the actual cost of the district would range from $140,000 to $150,000, which is more than the $30,000 we budgeted. But what, you know, my opinion on it is, what price do you put on safety? You know, you can't put a price on safety. So that's why the cost is higher than budgeted, because of the timing of the discussions. I just wanted to point that out. And I'd like to thank the board for their consideration. And before I move it, I'd like to open it up and see if I can answer any questions.
First question, where did the difference in this budget come from?
Where's the
From the
funding?
30,000 to 150,000?
It's that we're picking up the cost, the actual cost of the officer for the 9 months that they're employed with us. And then the events are reflected in overtime costs. But those events help, go ahead.
No, that's, I guess where I'm getting is like, where's the money coming from?
Coming from
budget.
Money coming from a general
Yeah.
fund or,
That's my question.
yeah, it's just,
As we develop the budget, we do build in some contingencies, because inevitably, students will move in that have special needs, or we'll have more charter school students than we currently know of, and those kinds of things. So,
Transportation costs, utility costs.
all of those things, we're trying to budget conservatively, but not crazy. This would come out of there. So we're not seeing at this point a need to find a cut in program or staff.
Yeah.
But you will have to keep in mind that as we go to develop the 23-24 budget, this, I mean, well, there've been a couple things, but this is one of the first that will be in the budget as part of the base budget before you start really looking at what are next year's increases. So this would be, it's $150,000, $120,000 increase just to get to a new starting point, and then we'll develop the budget from there.
I will say that we have had meetings, we being the four superintendents and the chief, with representatives from Monica Wallace's office, Senator Kennedy's office, Congressman Higgins, about funding, because we're hearing that there's funding out there for increased police and including SROs, but that funding stream hasn't opened up yet. So if you notice, we're calling this a pilot program, and that's intentional, because if we call it a pilot and then those funding streams open up, we would still be eligible for that federal funding, if and when it appears. So we think that it's coming. Chief Wool thinks that there's funding that could be coming our way. So that could mitigate the $120,000 hit to our budget next year. But again, you don't want to count on it, because you're dealing with politics and those
New York
things
State.
in New York State, and that's all I'll say about that.
This is a 1-year commitment to this, right? So if we decide next year that we didn't see value, whatever, we can't find the money, we're not locked into it, correct?
Correct.
Any other questions?
Okay,
Do you have a
then,
motion on it?
yeah, I'd like to recommend the board approve the school resource officer pilot program as presented.
Can I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
I'll get the contract over to the chief tonight. After the meeting, I'll scan and send it to him, and then he has to present it to the town board. And Rob, you can watch that on hold over there.
Thank you.
All right. And then, I'll keep you posted on everything that happens from this point forward. Thank you.
Sounds good.
The next thing on the agenda is unified basketball, which is something I'm really proud of that we're starting. Unified basketball is going to give approximately at least 12 of our students with special needs and disabilities an opportunity to play interscholastic basketball. It's a fantastic program that, if it's successful, we can look to expand it. They have unified swimming, they have unified bowling. So this is a great first step in that process, and I'm really, Joelle's excited about it too. So I'd like to recommend the board approve the unified basketball coaching stipend as presented.
Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed.
I'd like to recommend the board approve the policy updates as presented.
Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. And can I have a motion to go into executive session in regards to collective negotiations?
Motion. Second.
All in favor?
Michelle.
Can I have a motion to enter regular session?
Second.
All in favor?
Okay, I'd like to recommend the board approve the memorandum of understanding with the MTA as presented.
Can I have a motion?
I'll motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Old business, the district-wide safety plan will be opened up for public hearing. This is technically the conclusion of the 30-day period that we're required to have. So as of the conclusion of the 30-day period, I'd like to recommend the board approve the district-wide safety plan as presented.
Can I have a motion?
We need to open for public before we do anything? No.
Can I have a motion?
Motion. I'll second.
All in favor?
No, technically, we did that, and then technically somebody could have, spoke about it at the opening resident input session. So that's why we need to do that. Erie County School Boards.
We don't have any meetings or anything, do we?
No, that was great. Wednesday, last Thursday, whenever it was. It's good event. Highly recommend it next year if they do it again.
Any resident input?
Man, are you present? Then I'll have to.
Not yet, come on, give me a second.
Okay.
It's the first meeting, the city council.
Yeah, but no, I always love ladies
No?
first.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Getting excited that we're gonna have our first Duca meeting of 2022. Lord willing, on September 1st at the primary school. And again, Mr. McDermott is our vice president. And we interviewed a secretary tonight, and if she's able to, she will get a hold of you. Other than that, I'm excited to hear, when I went to our executive board meeting with Duca, and I had shared this with Joe, that we're gonna try to get more things done with Duca, with the school, okay? We want maybe some of the kids down the line come in and do a concert, bring the parents in, do a concert. It's got, our whole agenda has changed. You got a different person there, and I like it. Sometimes you get stale, and I know it's getting stale. It's time for new eyes, younger person to come in, and he's got some great ideas too. How come everybody's, boy, oh boy, yeah, come on. But he's got some great ideas too, so we just want to work real close with the school and with the community, because it's what it's all about. People want to know what's going on in the school district, community. I know what's going on this road over here. And I don't know if anybody has seen the news tonight, Kathy Hochul did put out for what was required this year for COVID and all the other stuff, so everything's gonna be more and more relaxed, so hopefully we get back to quote normalcy, what we saw before. Hopefully by the middle of the year, we may have some more seniors coming in, because a couple of people are talking about retirement, and then they want to do something else, and we'll get them in there for senior volunteers. So, thank you for all your help, all you're doing here. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Brad.
Andy Griffith's on, you know what I mean?
Who's that?
Wow. Kids. No respect.
Do we have anything else? Did we want to discuss the student liaisons? Do we want to do them in executive session? We can do that, how we're going to decide.
Yeah, you should probably do that.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, motion to go into executive session
Order collective negotiations.
in regards to collective negotiations. It was there, we're not sure what we're talking.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.